We got a lot of stuff today. It's a good CSA haul, and I got some extra stuff too. So we got a lot of stuff, period, in the house right now.
That's great.
We got ready for a good weekend.
Where's your nice new little pussycat?
She is upstairs, it looks like. She kind of does her own thing. She's a little bashful, so I would not anticipate her making a showing. Sweet. Gotta give myself, make sure everybody has water, guys. You gotta stay hydrated. It's important. Is everybody grilling along? I'm joking, of course. This is dangerous. I'm about to bring my computer very, very close to the grill, and it's going to be awesome. I'm excited to see how close we can go.
Did we get copies of recipes or not?
So there's no recipe for this
Oh.
one. We're just grilling and chilling. There's no recipes on the grill today. We are going to basically be talking about basics. Honestly, the biggest thing we're going to show today is going to be all my knife techniques for.
Ooh.
They don't all slip through the grates. And then we're gonna do it. We're gonna grill it up. I'll show you my grill, show you my grilling technique, and we'll maybe talk about some other grilling techniques. I tend to go very hot. I love hot. Mm-hmm. I just roasted a venison butt the other day, and you know, I was still doing my hot technique, but I had one part of the grill was very, very turned down low, and I seared it there, and then just sort of left it off to the side. So there's a lot of different ways to cook on the grill. I prefer hot, very hot, fast and hot. It just it's nice. It's like a nice. I love the char marks, the grill marks. I love you know, my food a little bit burnt. So that's generally what I go for. But we'll talk about some other techniques too.
Good.
We need techniques, Chris. It's so much better looking at somebody doing it than
exactly.
You figure it out the technique from a book.
It's kind of the hope. You know, you look at a lot of that's why I really love like Cooks Illustrated, for instance. They tend to draw everything out, but they usually will give you like a step-by-step visual, which can be a big difference, you know, if you've never seen something done before. So the big ones are definitely gonna be onions, and we'll look at a couple other things too. I got some fun stuff that I was not anticipating in the CSA, so we're gonna grill it anyways, and we're gonna see how it turns out. I don't think it's gonna be bad. I've never put anything on a grill that turned out bad. So
there's a message for you in the chat from Sherry.
Oh, awesome. Hey, thanks, Sherry. Yeah, it's there's a lot of different knives. I am going to be using my like go-to home knife right now, which is this Zwillings Henkels, J.A. Henkels. And it's like a pretty cheap knife, but it's really, really thin, like really, really thin. So it doesn't matter that I beat it up. It's still super sharp. A lot of thicker knives. We talked about this a little bit, but a lot of thicker knives. If you look at the back of the knife, that's how you can tell. I think that's called the tang, I believe. I'm really bad at knife terminology. They'll get thicker. Usually a good like chopping knife that you go up and down like this instead of slicing will be really, really thick because you want that extra weight, so it's less work for your hand. But I really like a thin knife. It felt weird in my hand at first, but I'm very used to it now, and I use it for pretty much everything, mainly just because I can beat it up, because I know it's not that expensive. I can get a new one, or the steel's soft enough that I can sharpen this one if I have to. Sweet. All right, guys, it looks like it's 5 o'clock. Do you want me to start this up, Virginia? Do you want me to, should I get into it?
I think we have everyone that's signed up. So why don't I just let people in if they come in late, I'll just let them in as they come in.
That sounds like a plan to me.
All right.
We already started chatting about grilling, but lead us away.
We are so happy that Chris is doing a couple of summer specials for us instead of having to go, well, to stick with the food terminology, cold turkey until September. So just take it away, Chef Look.
Hi guys, thanks for coming. We're gonna do some grilling and have a good time tonight. I hope you guys have some refreshments available. It is hot, so I'm very happy I'm not cooking inside right now. One of the best parts about grilling is that you get to keep all that temperature far away from yourself. So I got my CSA today, and I laid out all my veggies plus a couple extras I found in the fridge right in front of me. We got that mise en place going here, as you can see. There's some tomatoes, there's some fennel, there's some beets hiding back there. I got some peppers and some cauliflower that were from the store, but that cauliflower has been hiding in the back of my fridge, so it needs to get grilled today. I went ahead and melted some rendered duck fat because I've been using a lot of that lately. Actually ran out of olive oil, so I'm on the duck fat game right now. It's actually really healthy animal fat as far as animal fats go. Super good for your cholesterol, just in case you're looking for alternatives to olive oil. Duck fat is not only tasty, but good for you. So we're just going to jump right into it. I'm going to angle you guys down to my cutting board, and I'm just going to show you how I cut things for the grill. We're going to go through them all. We got a whole bunch of veggies to do today. So first thing I'll do is I'll usually get 2 bowls together. I got 2 metal bowls, basically your biggest bowls you're going to want. And then I'll have a soft bowl and a hard bowl. So I don't want to crush my nice cut veggies with my hard stuff. So I'll make sure to put soft stuff in one bowl and hard stuff in another. And the first soft thing we're going to grill today doesn't require any cutting, which is why it's super sweet. And those are some MVM mushrooms. If you guys haven't had these yet, they're fabulous. I've been pretty much eating like a pound a week, if not more, since they started delivering again. I highly recommend them. You can get them at any of the farmers markets, and they are grown from local wood, which is super cool. And you want them about that size. My hands are big, so that's not like, definitely big. You don't want them to fall through the grates, but you don't want them to be like so big unless you want them to be big for like a sandwich or something like that. And I'm not going to take out the stems. I really don't care. I actually like that they have a little bit more texture to them. So I'm just going to dump a whole bunch in here. We don't want too many, just enough. I really like them as like a flavoring agent. I've been trying to use a little bit less salt in my life, and so something like a mushroom like this really develops a nice deep flavor without requiring any salt to help bring it out. So that is another reason why I really like them, is they just have a lot of natural flavor. Peppers are also really good for that. They're so sweet that they don't really need anything to make them taste good. Salt and stuff like that. So you can usually just throw some black pepper on there and call it a delicious pepper. So that's some nice mushrooms. I got them in there. Just put them right in the bowl, and we'll toss those back in the fridge. So that's the beginning of my soft bowl. And you don't have to keep it soft and just do all your soft stuff first. You can sort of rotate based on whatever is in front of you. So we're going to start with let's say that for a second. We're going to start with this broccoli that I got. I got some of my family in town, and they brought me some broccoli from their garden. I'm very happy about it. So we're going to grill some broccoli because honestly, why not? So broccoli is really great. Some people will tell you to steam it beforehand. I like my broccoli kind of crunchy, so I'm going to just grill it as is. I'm also going to show you a technique that we're going to use to basically steam the broccoli. We're going to put this on the grill first, and then once it gets some nice char, we're going to put it up on the top rack. We're going to let it steam. So you want big pieces with width. That way, even if this tries to go through, it's not going through those grill grates. And this is hard, so I'm going to put it in the hard bowl. So the way I'm going to do that is, this is a nicer sort of longer broccoli. So I'm just going right at the tip base of where the long stems connect to sort of what would be the root end. I'm just cutting off nice long pieces. If you have them like a store-bought broccoli that maybe doesn't have this long of pieces, what you're going to want to do, so you got some nice pieces here that probably shouldn't fall through. So this is a little bit closer to like a store-bought broccoli. You know, it's pretty tight. So what you want to do is you want to cut it off as close to the stem as you can. So you have a nice little solid piece here, and then you want to put that solid piece up so it's facing you. You want to cut off sections from that. What that's going to do is it's going to sort of dissect it into its own little long stems, and this will hold it together. We're going to use this technique again when we do onions and cauliflower. You want something solid, and usually it's going to be the hardest part of the vegetable you want to be solid. That way, even when it gets cooked, it's going to hold itself together. So there's some broccoli. I'll do another head just because I really like broccoli. Actually, you know what? Honestly, that's probably enough broccoli. Well, 2 more pieces. I changed my mind. I'm going for all of it. The inside was just like a little bit wet, so I don't think it's going to really hold on that long. So I'm just going to go ahead and grill it all, and it'll hold a lot better once it's been sort of heated up. Get all that broccoli pieces away. Awesome. So next thing we got, which was pretty cool, was fennel. Fennel is really beautiful. Usually I'd use this in like a slaw or a soup, but we're going to grill it today. The stems are good. You can eat them. If you have a juicer, definitely save these for juicing. I don't have a juicer right now, so I'm going to feed them to my chickens. But they're still pretty tender, especially with a smaller fennel like this. You know, the big bulbs, they can be a little bit more like celery, but like harder. And so we want a little bit of it, but not tons. So you can just sort of like almost feel where they get soft. You just want to basically cut all the little dill like fronds off, so you have something you can work with. So there's all my fronds. I'm going to feed those to my chickens. And then I just got the bulbs here with a little bit of that stalk. And the stalk is going to like char up and get a lot softer. So I really like that. So I got 4 of them, and you can grill them whole like this. I don't see any reason why not. But I'm going to try a couple of them in half. We'll see if we can keep them together or not. They're kind of thin, so it might not work great. Obviously, with a larger fennel, you're definitely going to want to cut it up. And I'd probably do a technique similar to what we're going to do with onions, where you keep the root end on, and then you sort of dissect the root end. We're just going to try and cut these guys in half lengthwise, try and keep that root together so it holds it all together. Beautiful. What that does is that exposes the nice inside ribs. It's going to help it cook a lot faster, which is good because I'm using high temp. And it's also just going to get us more flavor in there. It smells so good. That anise flavor, if you don't like it, or anise, depending on who you talk to. If you don't like it, obviously skip the fennel, but I am pretty much in love with it. So again, you cut them in half lengthwise. So this was together like that. I put it on its side, very carefully cut down here, make sure to, you know, hold it tight. And then you got the insides all exposed. So we're gonna do that again. That worked out pretty well. So I'm just gonna keep doing that. And don't cut until you find a good seat. See, I don't know if you saw me sort of slip a couple times. Now I have a good seat. See, look, that's what I mean by a seat. It's not going anywhere. Now that I have it in there, I have a good seat, I can actually apply pressure. I won't apply pressure to this knife until it's in a seat. Now I feel safe. I can apply pressure downward. I know my hands are going to be safe. So don't apply pressure until you know you have a nice safe place. So I'm actually going to keep this one whole because it's small, and because we did the other ones the other way. So might as well try it both ways. All right, cool. So next thing in front of me is these tomatoes. They've been looking at me. They're beautiful. These ones came in my CSA today. Greenhouse tomatoes, absolutely fabulous. They don't always have as much flavor as a field tomato or an heirloom. So that's why I really like to grill them. They also tend to be a little bit harder with less juice. So they hold up better to grilling. So we're just gonna quarter these. We're just gonna cut them in half, and then we're gonna cut them in half again. And we're really just trying to get some flavor on these. We're gonna grill them skin side down first, and then we're gonna flip them. And that's gonna sort of like dehydrate them a little bit. And when they're done, they'll be a lot smaller. And what I'm hoping we can do is we can just sort of put the whole thing on top of a burger and just kind of smush it down, and it'll be like this nice warm tomatoey flavor. And it's gonna have a lot more flavor. I like raw tomatoes too, so I'll honestly probably put a raw tomato and a grilled tomato. So this one's a little bigger, so we might actually go into sixths. And so the way you do that is you cut it in half, and then you put the half down so it's nice and stable. It's not going anywhere. You just want to kind of angle your knife a little bit. Just try and cut that into 3 pieces, just like that. In practice, you know, anytime you can find a flat surface on your vegetable, that's going to make your life a lot easier, because you can put that flat surface on your flat cutting board, gives you lots of stability, and you can cut at different angles. So those are going in my soft bowl. Another fun thing I got in the CSA today was beets, which I absolutely love to grill. So I'm just going to cut them off of their greens here. And again, you can save your greens. You can stew them. A lot of people like stewed beet greens. I don't mind them. I'll definitely eat them if I'm hungry, but I have chickens right now, so I'm just going to feed them to my chickens. But yeah, stewed beet greens are great. Just make sure you wash them because beets will get a lot of dirt in their greens, and it is not pleasurable to have that crunch, crunch, crunch when it's a piece of sand. You want that because it's nice and crispy, not because it's sand. All right, great. So I'm just going to cut off the root end here just because these are a bit leggy. There's a little bit of extra root that I don't really like. You can leave that on too. I mean, that's one of the cool parts about grilling is things like that tend to get kind of charred and grilled, and you don't really have to worry about them. So the beets are hard, so they're going to take a little bit longer to cook. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can just quarter them like we did with the tomatoes. I think I'm going to do some of these red beets like that. So you just got little wedges like that, and you can treat this almost like a potato. We're going to just grill it really hard, and we're going to put it up on that top rack to steam while we cook everything else. So those are going to go in my hard bowl. They're going to absolutely color everything red, and I honestly don't care. But if you do care, you can put them on their own bowl. So this beet's a little bigger. So we're going to do discs, and we're going to cut it. That was not the best cut. Let me show you an actual straight cut. We're going to cut it pretty thick. This is how I'll cut my potatoes too when I do grill potatoes. They're going to shrink a little bit as the water gets cooked off. And because you're grilling, you really want it to have some nice chunk to it, just so it can, hold up to the rigors of the grill. So I got some pieces there. We're going to do this big golden beet that way too, just to show off the inside, because the inside of these golden beets is really, really pretty. I obviously stained it with my red knife, but when it gets cooked, it's going to get deeper in color, and the grill marks are going to look really, really, really nice on that golden beet. Oh, toss those in there too. All right, sweet. Well, let's see where we're at now. I got lots of beet stains. Just give those a quick little wipe off. And we're going to jump into the next ones in front of me, which is going to be onions. So onions are a fun one for the grill. Don't cut off the root when you're doing onions for the grill. Super important. That is going to make your life so much easier. So you're going to cut off the stem end, which is the end that's kind of like all dried up. And looks like, the stem, I don't know, I guess there's the onion, stem end, root end. So if you got them at home. And these onions are just from the store. I do have some onions that I got from the CSA that I'm going to show you here in a second. And we're going to cut those a little differently. But for these, you cut the stem end off, then you have a flat surface. So you put that down on your cutting board. You're just going to go ahead and cut that in half. And then now that it's in half, it's really easy to peel. If you try and peel it while it's whole, it's just a pain in the butt. You do this thing where you like have to cut down the side. It's crazy. So cut your onion in half if you can. I understand if you want like rings for onion rings, then you're not going to do that. But in this case, we actually are going to be cutting it in half anyways. So we may as well make it a little easier for ourselves on the peel. So again, cut it in half. Make sure you cut the root in half too, because we're going to want a little piece of that root on each one of our onion pieces. That's going to help hold it all together on the grill. So when we touch it, it doesn't just all fall through. I've lost many, many vegetables to the fire gods, and I don't mind doing it because they're very kind to me and letting me cook my food, but I want to eat these onions. So we're going to try our best to avoid that. So now that you have the ends off, and again, it's totally okay if you leave a little bit of the skin. That will burn off so quickly. You're not going to worry about it. These are pretty small, so I'm just going to quarter them. So I'm just going to cut them in half again. And again, you want to leave a little bit of root on both sides. And you're just going to toss it in your bowls. So quarter, we'll quarter these ones too. Again, just to really reiterate, you want to leave a piece of that root end on so that they all stay together. And this kind of show you how that looks. Like you can pull this apart like this into all its different pieces, but it's all still one onion. That's what we want. All right, cool. We're getting there. So I got some store-bought peppers that I just had to use up. Kind of went through my fridge. This tends to be how I grill. Every time I grill, I go through my fridge. I look in the drawers. I look in the back of the drawers. I take out absolutely everything I can possibly get my hands on, and then I grill it. So peppers are really fun. You hold this end away from you, and you just want to cut straight down on one of the flat sides. And then you just kind of want to continue that cut around if you can. And once you get to here, I like to sometimes flip it around depending on how big the pepper is. And you want to come back inside here. You want to take out that little rib, and then you just want to try and cut out the core. So now we've got the core out. You got this whole pepper's edible. You can take out the white ribs if you want. I don't really mind the flavor. They've got a lot of nutrients in there. Pretty much anything that's bitter like that usually has a lot of nutrients. The seeds too, same deal. I wouldn't eat pepper seeds. They're not really tasty, but if you're hungry, don't throw your seeds away. It is all of it's got good stuff in it. Fiber, you know, everything that is needed to make a whole new pepper plant is in that seed. So it's definitely something worth eating if you think you need to. But we're good. We're looking good right now. Food security is very nice. So, so now that they're in these planks, is what I call these. They're pepper planks. It's a lot easier to cut, and I cut inside out. Some people like to cut on the skin side, but I found that my knife, unless it's like super duper sharp, doesn't do as well. So I like to go skin side out, and then we're just gonna cut these into like nice pieces that will fit on the grill. So these are a bit long. So I'm actually gonna cut them in half first before we do this. And these are just pieces that will fit on the grill nice. They're long enough that they won't, that they'll, you know, bridge a couple different grill grates, but they're not so big that they're gonna be hard to eat later. And those are soft enough. I'm gonna put them in my soft bin and just cut through on half that way. And we're just gonna cut some nice little planks. And they can be any size. You really don't like, it doesn't have to be super strong. You just don't want them to be too small. Do not cut them too small. You will be cursing later as they fall through the grate, and all of your hard-earned money goes down, down, down in flames. All right, so we got some green onions next. We got a lot of different onions. I love onions so much. I'm so happy that the CSA gave me so many. So green onions, pretty simple. I really don't do anything except for make sure they're clean. And then what I'll do is I'll line up all of the little root ends here. Boop, boop, boop. Line them up nice, flip them around. I just want to cut off like most of the tops. You want to leave, I'll show you when I'm done. So that's where they were originally. I cut off about that much. So you want something that's nice, manageable on the grill, and that you could eat the whole thing. So what we're going to do when these are done, they don't take very long. They're just going to be nice and charred. And you're just going to munch them down from the top, just like that. And then you have the little root end left over, and you can just toss it away. So those I'm actually not going to put in a bowl because they're kind of long. So I wouldn't put like asparagus in the bowl either, or corn if I was doing it, just because they get in the way when we go to mix it in a second here. So I'm not going to put them in the bowl. Now I got some actual spring onions here. These might be Walla Wallas actually, which would just be absolutely fabulous. These ones look like they're a little bit small, but I think that's just because it's early in the harvest. These need a little bit of cleanup. Any of that darker leaf, you can look at the top of the greens. If it's dark like that, either come down here to the base and pinch it off, or just peel the whole layer off. That's basically what's going to be the onion skin, you know, once it dries out. So you don't want that on the bottom either, so make sure you take it off.
Chris,
by looking at the higher ones. Yeah, what's up, Virginia?
what CSA do you belong to?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, this CSA is the Island Road Initiative one. So that's the one over at, for those of you who have been on the island a long time, it would be the old strawberry picking farm, but is it's part of IGI and what's their other name? I can't remember the other name for it, but IGI is basically like the people you go to. What do they call it? Whippoorwill? Whippoorwill? Does that sound right? That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it used to be Whippoorwill, right?
The
one on State Road?
No, the one on the one like down the Llama Farm Road.
Oh, right. Isn't that
Thimble? I'm really blanking right now.
Is that Thimble?
Thimble Farm, yeah, there we go. So it used to be Thimble Farm. I guess it kind of still is Thimble Farm. So that's what I use for my CSA. It's a sign up before program. But I know Morning Glory just started one too. I honestly love CSAs because you're kind of forced to figure it out. It's a lot less sort of, you don't get to really pick what you're doing. They kind of pick for you and then you just get to cook. So we're going to cut these a lot like we did the green onions. We're going to take one extra step. We're going to want to cut the bulb in half just because that's a lot to cook. So you want to, again, keep the root intact and just cut it in half. And then if you can follow, oh, can you not see that maybe? Let's put it down there. You want to follow that line all the way up the stem if possible. So again, You want to cut it in half at the root end, and then you got your knife in there like that. You just want to sort of hold it on either side and just really gently use the tip of your knife to follow up the stem. That way you get a little bit of green on each one of those halves. And the green is isn't always going to be necessarily something you're going to want to eat, but it makes it look nice, and sometimes that's just as important as flavor. All right, so we have one potato. I don't know where this came from. It was in my fridge, so we're going to cook a potato today. You can cut it however you like. I personally like big planks, so I'm going to find the widest. Just look at it from different angles until you find it looks the biggest, which in this case is this, and you're going to cut your planks off of that. Again, you want them to be pretty thick so that they can really hold up to the grill. And the way I cut that is, you guys have probably seen it before. You want to have your fingers curled in, and you just want to put downward pressure, and then you want to make sure that if your knife was to slip, it wouldn't hit anything. So that's very safe. Practice it if you can. Sometimes you feel like you don't have a very good grip, but it's a lie. You'd be surprised what you can do with a little bit of friction. So we got a bunch of summer squash. I love summer squash so much, especially grilled. I feel like I just miss my grill in the winter when I'm trying to eat zucchini, so I usually just don't. So we're going to cut this a couple different ways. The zucchinis are nice and sort of uniform throughout. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a bias cut. And that's going to turn something that's small like that into something that is a little bit bigger. And so you're basically just going to turn your knife, instead of cutting straight like that and making a little disc. Again, that's going to fall right through the cracks. Zucchini is really good raw, by the way, guys, in case you've never tried it. Definitely delicious, a little bit of salt and vinegar. Oh, it's so good. But instead of doing that, we're going to turn our knife pretty long. And we're going to cut bias pieces. So you see they have a cool little, and they're much bigger, so they shouldn't fall through the grate. That's going to go in our soft bin. So just cut some bias pieces there. And as you get to the small end, just turn your knife more so you have more bias. It's going to keep them big the whole time. So good. I love zucchini. All right, so again, the first cuts, you just sort of taking the end off, and then you just want to do some bias cuts. And I always like to cook in batches. It's just one of my things. So I am probably cooking way too much food for the amount of people that are about to eat this, but that's okay with me. I'll have leftovers. I bring them to work. I eat them for breakfast. I put them on. I bring them to the beach. Put them on beach sandwiches. That's always fun to put a little bit of fresh zucchini that you've grilled, and you can like tell your friends about it. These are actually too small. I'm gonna save them for another day because I think I have enough food. We're almost there. All right. So then the last thing we're gonna do is our actual summer yellow squash. We're gonna leave the tops on because I can. You can actually eat them. Pretty much every part of the squash is edible. The blossom. I mean, I wouldn't eat the leaves because they're a little bit spiky, but pretty much everything is edible. So we're just going to leave them whole like that, and we're going to cut them long ways. I'm sure you guys have seen this before. You might have done it before. So we're going to cut them long ways, and then we're going to do it again the other way. And we're going to make little wedges like that. So I like that for my summer squash just because the ends get really charred, and then the center is usually like perfect. So that's what we're going to do for these. Perfect, another 4. And if you have bigger ones, you can do a different, like, so this one's kind of like a little bit more awkward. So I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut it in half first. Then we're going to go ahead and cut it. And for the stem end, I'm just going to do it in half. And then for the sort of ball end or the seed end, I'm going to cut it into quarters. So we got those nice strips. Awesome. So my bowls are full, which to me usually means it's time to stop. So I had this cauliflower that I was going to grill, but honestly, I think it's probably too much. I'll just save it for something else. What I'll do is I'll roast it, and then I'll blend it up and maybe make like a cauliflower puree or something like that. It's a lot of different things you can do with a good cauliflower. But I always like to roast them first if I can, just to get some color on them. You can boil it too for like a puree, but I like when it has like, I usually put a lot of black pepper in there anyways, so I don't really mind so much that there is a whole bunch of like black specks in my puree. If I was doing it for a restaurant, I would be told to make sure it was pure white, but that's okay. We don't have to worry about that. We can make our food look as ugly or as beautiful as we want it to be. All right, so all my veggies are cut. Now we're going to season them. Again, I'm not using a lot of salt right now, but I am using a lot of delicious duck fat. So I melted this already, and it's gonna stay like that. So I'm just gonna pour about half on each one of these. You can measure this if you want, but you really just want to make sure you get a nice coat. I'm gonna put a lot of black pepper on both of these. Fresh ground is best if you can get it. Powdered is fine too. Not gonna hurt anybody. You're definitely not gonna hurt my feelings. It's really your own taste buds that you are denying. All right, so now this, I did hard and soft for this one, but you can also sort of make two different seasonings if you wanted to use like different herbs or anything like that. I'm gonna put the same stuff on all of these. I got some dried thyme that I'm gonna put on, and I think that's just gonna be it. It's gonna be black pepper and thyme. I really think that for a lot of veggies, especially like fresh ones, if you're getting them from a CSA or somewhere where they've just been picked, like they don't need a lot. They really don't even need that much salt. I'm gonna put a little bit of salt on here, although I don't know if you guys have had this problem. My salt is like paste right now. It has been so moist on the island. I have absolutely no idea how to fix it. Obviously rice isn't gonna work because it's just so much moisture. I've never used duck fat. Where do I find that? So I got mine online. We don't have any local people. So that liquid was duck fat. I got mine online from this place that does like really good organic food. I'll actually go show you the container. Where'd it go? There we go. So it's just organic rendered duck fat. It's got a really high smoke point. It's so good for you, and it just tastes amazing. And it comes in jars like that. You can keep them in your cupboard. They stay good for a long time until you open them, and you just put it in the fridge. And when it's in the fridge, it'll like harden up like butter, and you can spread it on toast. Like it's so good. It's like, you ever had bone marrow? Just imagine that, but poultry flavored, and like bam, that's duck fat on toast for me. So duck fat, pepper. We're gonna get some dried thyme here. If you have fresh thyme, that's cool too, but I bought a big thing of dried thyme, so I've been trying to use that as much as possible. I absolutely love thyme. It is one of my favorite flavors, so you're gonna see me put probably more than I should on here. That's okay because I love it. Awesome. And again, I'm not really using a lot of salt, so any other ways I can get flavor, such as herbs, it's always a good shot. So yeah, so my salt is like a paste. And I know I could get more salt, but I don't ever want to waste things. So I'm just using this. I'll just put a little bit of salt on here. And that'll eventually sort of get, when I mix it here, it's going to get all spread out and coat them perfectly. So, all right, so here's my mixing technique.
That you used.
What's that?
What was the liquid that you poured on the vegetables?
That was the duck fat.
Oh, that was the duck fat. Okay.
Yeah, that was the duck fat. Yeah, that's the rendered duck fat. It is liquid at room temperature right now because it is so hot.
So warm, yeah. So if you don't have that, you could use a good hearty olive oil, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Olive oil, coconut oil, pretty much any fat you want. You don't even have to use fat. When I'm doing this hot grill technique, the moisture in the vegetables will eventually allow them to unstick. I just like it for a little bit extra flavor more than anything else. So this is gonna be a mixing. You notice this bowl is very full. So I'm just gonna do a quick little toss like this. And this comes from a lot of practice. What I'm basically doing is I'm pushing the weight forward and I'm pulling the bowl back to me. And I'm doing that like on a very small level. If I did it bigger, it would look something kind of like that. But I don't want it to go anywhere. So I'm doing it on a very small level. We're just trying to make a little rotation happen here. So you should see the veggies on the top work their way down to the bottom of the bowl, and etc. The ones on the bottom will work their way back up to the top. And then what I'll do is I'll turn the bowl. We'll just do that again. Eventually, everything will be nice and mixed, and it's almost there already. And have all that thyme on it. It just smells like duck fat right now. I love it. So perfect. That's that bowl. We'll do it to the next bowl, and just practice this. Get something you don't care about, like some dried peas or something. I have no idea. And just practice this. It really just comes from experience. The more you do it, you don't have to fill your bowls up like this. If they're a lot smaller, this whole process is a lot easier. You have a bigger bowl, you can choose a spoon to stir them. But I just really like this. I think it gets them nice and evenly coated. It gets them all to be friends with each other. Now they've all met. They're about to have a really good time on the grill together, just like we are. We're all gonna have a good time on the grill together. All right, this one's looking really good. The soft one is like the tomatoes let out a little bit of their juice. So I'm gonna put the onions on top there. We're just gonna stack these up. I'm gonna bring you guys outside, then I'm gonna bring the veggies out and we're gonna start grilling. Let's do it. Quick little tour of my house on the way out. Don't look. I'm joking, of course. I love my home. All right. See if we can get the cat in there real quick. That's her favorite. Can you see her? Yeah, look at that little kitty. That's her favorite, absolutely favorite place to be. She'll just hang there and destroy that curtain all day long. And she's staying inside right now, which is nice. But I'm sure one day she will change her mind. All right, guys, so it's gonna be boring here for a second because I'm gonna literally just point you at this grill that's closed, but I'm gonna turn it on. We're gonna get it nice and hot and I'll be out here with the veggies. And we'll start the next part of the program, which is the grilling part of the program. I've got some proteins that I brought out here earlier just to get room temp. I got some burgers that my in-laws brought in, some hot dogs, and some swordfish, which I'm super stoked for. So that should be a lot of fun too. We're gonna throw those on. I always like to do my proteins towards the end of grilling just because that way they're nice and hot. The veggies tend to sort of keep themselves hot. I'll be right back with the veggies, guys. Right, I'm back. I got lots of veggies to get grillified. All right, so I'm lucky enough to have a grill with really nice space, like lots and lots of space. It is just a beautiful thing. So I got my mise en place set up over here. You hang out. This is my beautiful backyard. We got chickens over there making their noise. So I've got all my stuff set up right here. Again, mise en place is super duper important. Hopefully I'm not making you guys dizzy. Oh, that's cool. Awesome. I did not know that they had duck fat at Stop and Shop. Oh yeah, bacon fat. You can use absolutely any fat at all. Yeah, fresh fish. Oh my gosh, I know. I wish the swordfish was more fresh, but that's actually why I'm cooking it, because I took it out of the freezer and was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Got to cook it up. So I got my mise en place. It's all right here. Everything I need is right there. Both my bowls. I've got my meat, everything on that side. I've got you guys on the other side. This thing's getting hot. So I've got a nice little thermometer on my grill. I don't know if you guys have one of these, but they're amazing. So I like to use this as an indicator, and we'll talk about it later once I put the veggies on. Once it gets to 400, and that tells me it's at 400, that means my grill's hot to me. That's how hot I want my grill to be. So once it gets to 400, that's when we're gonna put all the veggies on. And then we're gonna close the lid and we're gonna wait. And what's gonna happen is the veggies are gonna drop the temperature of the grill, but the grill's gonna keep spitting out gas, so it's gonna rise back up again. When it gets back to 400, we're gonna jump back on the grill and we're gonna flip the veggies, and then we're gonna close it again, and it's gonna have a lower temperature, and that's gonna be kind of our timer of when to flip the veggies. It doesn't work out perfectly all the time, but for me, it's worked very, very well to get a really nice crispy outside on everything. If you don't like things crispy, keep the lid open, hang by your veggies and watch them. Try not to touch them. You do want to, want them to get a little bit of grill marks, but if you don't want that temperature to get really high and get those really crispy grill marks, then leave your grill open. It'll keep the temperature lower, and you'll get cooked food, but you won't necessarily get charred food. I love charred food, so I want my high temp high. So I hit 400 for the first time. I'm just gonna open this up. It's very dirty, so we're just gonna give it a nice little clean before we get going. And this is how I like to cook. At the end of this, I'm not gonna clean my grill. I like to leave it dirty. I think that you get a lot of bacteria growth, which for me increases flavor. I'm a dirty trash panda though, so don't follow my advice. I'm pretty sure the health inspector would tell me that that's very wrong. But I like that. I like that there's, things living on my grill, and then when I turn the heat back up, they all die anyways. There's plenty of oxygen here, so I'm not dealing with things like botulism that are, they only grow in anaerobic environments or environments without air. So all the bacteria that's on here should die quickly with heat, and it just adds more protein and more flavor. So I like to leave my grill dirty and then clean it when I use it next. I also don't use leave my grill unused for very long. So like if you're not going to grill for like a month, maybe don't do that. But for me, I'm grilling pretty much once or twice a week. So it usually doesn't sit on there that long, just enough to sort of develop some extra flavor, some fermentation of the grill. So great. So we just cleaned it. We're gonna let the temp get back up to 400, and then we're gonna start it up. We're gonna grill like crazy people, and it's gonna go fast. Grilling, that's one of my favorite things. A lot of the work is in the prep. Once you get everything cut, it just sort of happens. So all we have to really do is put the food on there, watch it, make sure it doesn't burn. And even if it does burn, it's usually still pretty tasty. I'm gonna try not to burn my mushrooms. I've been burning the caps, so I'm gonna actually start them gill side down. We're just gonna cook them on one side. I've been used to sort of store-bought, more water-bearing mushrooms, and I'll cook them a lot longer, and they get this nice sort of leathery feel. But with these shiitakes, there's not a lot of water in there, so I think if I put them grill side or gill side down, and I'll show you what that means in case you are not sure. I think they'll cook faster. They'll still get some nice color, but I'll have a nice sort of moist top instead of like a crunchy, charred one. So we're up to 400. So I'm gonna put you guys down, make sure we have a good angle, and I'm gonna go ahead and load up this grill. All right, guys, there's the grill. Let's do it. So I have a technique that I like to do for grilling. I like to start with my hard foods, and then I'll work my way into my softer stuff. Some items like to cook longer, like mushrooms. Usually I would cook for a longer time. We're not going to do that today. So we're going to treat the mushrooms like a soft food. And then I always like to keep my things sort of together. So if I'm cooking, one vegetable, even though I've now mixed these all together, I like to go through and find everything of that one type of vegetable and load it all up at once. And what that lets me do is make sure everything's kind of cooked the same. And it also it kind of looks pretty, I guess, to be completely honest. It's nice to have sort of all your ducks in a row, that mise en place sort of mentality of, everything in its place is definitely sort of gone through into how I like to organize my grill. I think part of it too just comes from, working in a professional kitchen. If you don't have your grill organized and you don't know, which veggies or which protein goes with what order and when you put which thing on, your life gets really, really hard. So I think I just sort of have a tendency to keep my grill very organized and in a way that I can easily sort of open it and know, what was I doing again? So we got all our broccoli in one place. Oh, yeah, perfect. You guys can see that. Awesome. We're gonna go ahead and put our potatoes on here because they really want to get grilled nice and easy. Pretty much anything that I plan on moving up to this top rack, I want to get on the grill now. So that's gonna be my beets too, of all varieties. And it looks like I did cut these beets a little too small, but that's okay. And generally you want to put whatever part of the vegetable is going to take the longest to cook onto the grill first. So in the case of the beets, I generally want to have their skin side down first, but I'm not that stuck to that. Like, it's not going to end the world if they don't. So I generally just kind of do whatever makes sense speed-wise, whatever is comfortable. I don't want to be sitting here for hours putting veggies on. So I usually just kind of put them how they come. And if you get real crazy, you can just dump the whole thing on there. If you know your grill really well and you know your sizing and your spacing, you can totally just dump your whole bucket. And you'd be surprised how well that works. So we'll give this a little spin. Looks like I got an extra broccoli. Put that in there. There's another piece of beet. Those beautiful golden beets are going to be so good. Actually, make sure that gets nice and deep in here so we get good char. And knowing your grill is going to be helpful in this. Know where your hot spots are, know where your cold spots are. For me, my front of my grill isn't very hot, so you'll see I'll avoid that pretty regularly. Great. So now we got a bowl with not much in it. So I'm going to go into onions, just because onions, I really like to get a nice char on them. And for onions, I don't really have I don't have a preference to which side I like to put them on. I do tend to put them on flat side first, but I guess that's just kind of because it seems more stable. And onions are like one of those dangerous things to grill. If you don't pay attention to them, you will lose the entire onion right down the grates. So we'll get those there. And let's go for fennel too. Beautiful. We're really just looking for color right now. Anything that needs a longer time cooking can always go on the top rack. We don't need to necessarily cook everything completely on the grill. Certainly is nice when that works out that way. But yeah, you have lots of different ways to cook on a grill. It doesn't have to just all be on the bottom grates. Awesome. All right, so we'll close this up and we will hang out. So this is usually when I like to sit down in my comfy chair. If you have a beverage, now's the time to pop it out, take a couple sips, relax, and you just wait. It doesn't take that long. That grill is on full blast, so recovering temperature is usually pretty fast. I don't know if you guys even noticed from looking at it, but the broccoli was already starting to get nice and charred. So that's like perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. And when I go to flip these soon, I'm going to flip them the same way I put them on. So we're going to start with the broccoli, and then we're going to go to what was next? I know beets, potato, then beets, then onions. And then we're going to close it again, and we're going to go back up to temp. And then we'll start, as we start moving things, we're going to get more space on the grill. And as that space opens up, we can start putting more veggies on. And we just sort of work through the list of what takes the longest to cook and what takes the shortest. And by the time we're done, everything should be kind of done and still hot. You know, if you're trying to cook potatoes and you put them on the grill last, all your other stuff's going to be done before the potatoes are done. So I always want to start with your things that take the longest to cook and then work your way into the things that don't really take long at all. So probably one of the last things we're going to put on there are going to be those little green onions, which really just want like a couple seconds. Or if I was doing asparagus, that would be one of the last things I put on. And honestly, I think it's probably a temp already. So let's go check it out. Oh, we're getting close. So you can see it's at 350. So if we stand here and wait, I bet you we'll get up there in no time. And when I close it, it was at about 250. So you can see just that little bit of talking to you guys, we went up 100 degrees. And that's because, as you can see, I got a nice flocks down here that I love to hang out with, but I have my grills all the way, basically right below the ignition, straight across the board. And that's for cooking veggies. When I cook protein, especially big pieces of protein, I'll usually turn one side down. I'll use one side for searing, the other one for more like roasting. You're basically sort of turning your grill into an oven. So you can sort of roast things and get them a nice temperature. And don't be afraid to use a thermometer if you're using a big hunk of meat. Like test your meat, see what it's at. Just because, you know, famous chefs don't ever use it or, you know, poke it and can know exactly how it's done, doesn't mean you have to. If you want good meat, just do it. Use a thermometer. You will find that you will get perfect meat every single time because that thermometer isn't lying to you. It tells you exactly what that meat temperature is at. And so you can know exactly how you like your meat and where you want it. It's one of the reasons why sous vide is such a great method. Sous vide being sort of the cooking in water bath that a lot of people have been using lately. All right, so bam, let's open it back up. We hit 400, get you guys a nice angle there, and we're gonna start flipping. So these broccolis have an awesome char on them. Hopefully you guys can see that. Look at that, it's perfect. So we're just gonna get that char on another side, and then we're gonna move them to the top rack to steam. All these vegetables are releasing their waters as they grill here. And that water is getting trapped by the vent or by the hood. That's why the temperature is going up so fast. You're basically sort of creating a steam oven. And so if we put veggies up on that top rack, they will capture all that heat because it's actually one of the hotter places on the grill, but it's not direct heat. So you're not getting char marks. And see, I don't know if you guys saw that, but that broccoli just saved itself because of the way we cut it. And that's one of the smaller pieces too. So that's good news for our other pieces of broccoli. They probably won't go anywhere. We just want to flip these. Take your time, you know, it's not really a rush thing. I like to try and do it as fast as I can, but I'll take a look at our potatoes. Potatoes aren't actually that grilled up. These broccolis are a little bit faster. That's okay. Let me make sure my grill is actually on over here. Yeah, it is. Cool. So we'll just go to something else. Check these onions. These onions got some nice grill marks. Awesome. Let's turn those. And the first ones you put on there are usually going to take the longest just because the grill is sort of getting used to itself. It's still heating up. The vegetables themselves are heating up. And all the veggies you bring out here and put next to the grill are going to heat up as they go as well. So the fennel is done already. That's nice. There's some good grill marks. You're really just trying to add a little bit of extra flavor. That caramelization is so essential to good flavor, especially for something like fennel, which has a lot of sugar in it, or these beets. Yeah, the beets aren't why my middle's not super duper hot. That's fine. No problem. We'll just close the grill and we'll wait again. Sometimes they're ready, sometimes they're not.
Chris,
Awesome.
can I ask you a question?
Of course.
I'm a lot of times when I grill, I go for a less expensive cut.
Mm,
The other day I got some skirt steak. It was not only less expensive, but it was actually on sale.
nice.
And it was super, super chewy. But I got a couple of pieces. So that I just wondered if you could give us a little couple of ideas of how to marinate something that will tenderize the meat.
Yeah, sure. So the classic way to sort of tenderize meat would be a brine. So salt is going to be your best bet. Marinades generally will involve vinegar, which can actually work against you because it's going to cook the meat and it can make it seize up. But you are almost guaranteedly going to succeed if you make a salt brine. So you just do, I think it's like 3%. I can't remember. I think it's 3%. 3% salt to water by weight. You can measure it too. You know, so basically that'd be 3 tablespoons for a quart, I think is what it is. And you can look this up on Google. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's like 3 tablespoons for a quart. My brain is telling me that maybe it's a gallon, but anyways, you want a salt brine and you can leave it in the salt brine. What that'll do is the salt will break down the protein and make it more tender. Vinegar can break down protein, but it can also, depending on how tight and how much fat is in there, it can also make it more tough. So a marinade is going to make things taste better. It's going to make them taste, really delicious. It's usually better for something that's already tender, like a chicken or poultry or a piece of meat that's already tender. But if you have a piece of meat that's not tender and you want to tenderize it, salt is going to be a good thing. There also is literally, I think, just like meat tenderizer powder, which is an enzyme that breaks things down. That can be really useful too. But honestly, the best way to make meat that's not tender is to cut it right. If you get a piece that's tough and stringy, if you cut it really thin or if you cut it against the grain, so you're breaking up those muscle fibers, it's going to have a lot better mouthfeel. So brining can definitely help. But cutting the meat right once it's cooked, don't cut it before it's cooked. After it's cooked and it rests, if you cut it into really thin strips against the grain, you're going to take those muscle fibers and you're going to cut them really small. And that's going to be a lot easier to chew and it's going to make it feel like a much more expensive cut of meat. But yeah, marinating can actually make your meat more tough because of the vinegar and because it's going to basically cook that protein and set it. And then even if you put it on the grill and cook it further, that protein might be set in that dense formation that you don't want. You can also just beat it up, put it in a plastic bag and tenderize it physically. That can be a lot of fun, a lot of stress relief, and that's almost guaranteed going to do it as well.
Yeah. So either use a mallet or use a salt brine.
Yeah, I would say those are your best bets. And then at the end of the day,
You just want flavor.
Yeah.
There are lots of marinades you could do.
Exactly. And you can always make a sauce to put on after it's cooked. If you want that vinegar, that's a good way to sort of avoid that without making it tough. So I'm pretty sure we're ready to go here. I'm going to pop back over.
Thank
We're
you.
going to get to our second load because I know some of the stuff's coming off right now. All right, so I'm going to take my broccolis off. I'm actually going to flip these first because we had to sort of wait on them from last time. And there we go. That's what I'm looking for. So you got that nice charred. And what that's going to do, especially with these potatoes, is that's going to seal in the moisture. The potatoes starch is now sort of made a little skin there on the side of the potato. And so the other side is going to cook a lot faster because all that heat would normally be escaping through the pores out, or the cell walls out. Now it has like a little starch barrier that's going to protect it and keep it in there. So you're going to end up steaming that a lot faster. And steam is a very, very fast way to cook. All right, so these fennels, we're going to put those up top too. All my broccoli is going up there to steam. And this broccoli is done right now. Like you can totally just eat some. I'm actually going to eat that piece right now. But it is still crunchy. It's definitely like al dente, if you will. If you were going to maybe like put this broccoli in another dish, like let's say make like a pasta dish or something, or anything else, you could take this off right now, cool it down. Like if I was using this in like a dish at like a fancy restaurant, I'd be, this would be me basically pre-cooking it I'd grill it, and then I put it on a sheet and cool it down, and I'd have it on the line. And I could just toss it in that dish, and all that flavor, all that time that I spent was spent, before that dish needed to be made for somebody. And so I can just quickly, have that flavor at my beck and call and put it into any dish I want. So that's a really nice technique to sort of flavor save, if you will. So that's really good. I'm gonna go ahead and eat it. Oh my God, tasty. I love broccoli so much. I don't know. This broccoli came from Connecticut with my visitors, and I'm so very happy for it because I like, honestly, broccoli and cauliflower may be my favorite vegetables. Up there, probably only with onions. But you can't get them all year round. I mean, you can obviously at the grocery store, but they really only tend to come in the fall. Summer is not very kind to broccoli. It tends to make very loose heads, which isn't always that tasty. But hey, man, we do what we can. So I've got an empty bowl now, and so I'll eventually put my veggies in there. But I'm going to put those onions that we didn't put in anything in there right now just to store them. So I have room to load some more stuff. So we're just going to move these onions around. Give them some more heat. Make sure all of my edges are nice and crispy. Nice and charred. All right, beautiful. So we got some space here. Let's see. Let's go for peppers. I like peppers. It's the next one. So I'm putting the peppers skin side down first. There's no really particular reason why I like doing this. I guess like technically the skin takes like a little bit longer to cook, but it's a little bit more what's the word? Hardy. Like that skin can take a little bit more char. Because I'm going so hot here, it just gives me a little bit more time to sort of relax and hang out as that chars up. So I just like going skin side first, but again, you could be just as successful at doing this if you just dump all the vegetables on there and let them hang out. Real thing you want to do is just make sure you give them enough time to get some good char and some good flavor. Awesome. My mushrooms are looking so good right now. They're really nice and wet. That's just because of the fat. They absorb that really, really easily because they're so soft-bodied. Awesome. Just check through here. Make sure I get all my peppers. Cool. So that just leaves us with onions, zucchini, mushrooms, and tomatoes for later. So yeah, we're just going to close this up and we're going to go back to the chill zone. See if we have any more questions. Oh yeah, the farmer's market on Sunday is so much fun. Actually, like one of the cool things about CSAs is that all of it's sort of done for you. It's just right there and you get to eat or cook with whatever they give you. But I love grocery shopping, and farmer's markets especially. So I sometimes miss that aspect of getting to sort of pick it out yourself. But I honestly just still go to grocery stores and farmer's markets, and then my fridge gets full of veggies and they get shoved into the back, and then I have to have a whole becomes a thing where I have too many veggies, time to grill. And you just you get rid of the food in whatever way you can and make some nice grains, like some herbs in it or whatever, and you got lunches for the week. It's beautiful. Let's see, fresh fish, yeah, totally. Yes, I definitely grill my corn. And I don't do any the soaking or anything like that. If we're lucky, in August at the next grill program, we will have corn, and that will be fabulous. But I don't do any of the soaking or anything like that. What I do is I use the method that I'm using for the broccoli and the fennel right now, except I do it in reverse. I put the corn on the top rack first, and I turn it every time. And you'll see the corn kernels will start to change color from that bright, shiny yellow to a darker yellow as you turn them. And what you're doing is you're steaming the corn on the top rack. And then once it's all been turned and all of them are that nice dark yellow, I'll put it on the lower rack and just pay really close attention to it. And you're basically trying to get some grill marks on it and get some char. And that works out perfectly because you're steaming the corn first and then you're just finishing it off with that char. So basically the same technique I would use for the potatoes or fennel or broccoli, but in reverse. I steam it first and then I grill it instead of grilling it and then steaming. And that usually works out very, very well. And you husk it, take it off, proper corn. It makes life a lot easier. When I was younger, I used to like soak my corn and put it on the grill in the husk, and it basically just steamed the corn without really adding any flavor. And I knew like inherently that I was doing something wrong, but I still kept doing it. And then one day I was just like, let's do this instead, and it worked perfectly. So that is my technique for corn, and I'm gonna go ahead and say we will see that in August. If I'm wrong, I'm gonna be very sad, because if there's no corn in August, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Not eat corn, I guess. All right, we're probably getting.
We'll die, Chris.
Yeah, I mean,
We will just die if there's no fresh corn in August.
I don't know if I die myself, but somebody might kill me. Somebody might be so upset that they kill me.
I wait all year for that Morning Glory farm
No,
corn.
it's so good. I'm so happy to hear you guys already have some in Western New York. That's good. Yeah, that's a very fertile farmland up in sort of outside the city, if you will. The whole country, the whole state is just like full of beautiful farms. All right, let's take a peek in here. We're back up. Whoa, we're actually over 400. Took too long. Talking my face off. All right, so these potatoes are good. I'm gonna toss those up top, and I'm just gonna stack them up like this so they get a nice sort of steam action going. These beets, you can always just sort of poke it. That beet is pretty hard, but that's okay because it's going to be up here for a bit, steaming. Just going to line them up, get ourselves some more space. Oh my gosh, I love beets so much. Oops. I'm just going to give these golden beets just a little bit more time. All right, so we'll go for these onions first because they're nice and hot. So this is my sort of onion super secret technique. Once they're all nice and charred on the outside, you want to sort of just like pull them apart a little bit. You don't want to so much pull them apart that they break. You want to get all the little sort of flaps out. And I like to pile them up in a big old pile. And I just kind of hit them like that. And what that'll do is that'll give them some nice air to get full flavor all the way into the core. Because when we cut them like that, we cut them off from the core off from flavor. And so that's going to kind of open them up. And then the next time we get on here, we'll actually just take them right off. But let's go ahead and move these, our yellow squash flipped, and then we'll move these peppers so they're all next to each other. And that'll let us put something else on here. Whoa. And again, you can flip these things as many times as you need to. Most things end up having 2 or 3 sides. I usually go for 2 flips for everything, but if you need to leave something on there, leave it on there. You can always taste test with your mouth. That'll tell you if it's ready to go or not. All right, let's flip up these peppers. Oh yeah, so beautiful. So hot. Oh my gosh, this grill is so hot. That's really the only problem with this, is my knuckles get so hot. Beautiful. And you can usually tell when something's like really getting ready when there's like moisture on top of it. I don't know if you can see that, but let me see if I can show you. You see that little drip of water come off? When there's moisture that starts to gather on the top of it, that usually means that moisture has come to boil inside and is trying to escape the cell walls. That's a good indication that you are cooking and not just sort of hanging out in a hot place. Ooh, my right side is not super hot. That's okay. We'll get those back on there. So we got some space. Let's get some more veggies on there. I'm gonna go for mushrooms and squash. See how much we can get on there. My favorite part of this, and we'll see that soon because we're definitely getting close, is the unloading. So we're going to unload all these veggies into a bowl, and that's going to be a lot of fun. It's I like to sort of layer it so that you can see the veggies from the top. It's if you've seen any of my sort of grilling photos in the past, you have seen what I'm talking about. It's a really nice presentation, and you can just sort of put the bowl right in the middle of the table and let people go to town. They have access to everything glorious that you've cooked, and they can sort of pick and choose what they want. They don't have to ask, hey, where's that? Where's that? And you only use one bowl, It's the same bowl I use to cut them in. So Very good for dishes, which is always a good idea. All right, we're close on the veggie side of things. Now that I got space in this bowl, I'm just gonna go ahead and toss those onions in here, get them coated with whatever liquid might be left over in the soft bowl here. And then my big bowl will be the one that we pack everything into. Awesome, we're gonna close this up, let that do its thing. We're also getting close here. Once we run out of veggies, or once we get to a point where it seems like it's a good idea to start cooking protein, depending on, like if we have some really soft veggies, like those green onions, I'll put on probably like around the same time as my burgers and my hot dogs, just because protein can take a while to cook, depending on what you're cooking. But most of the time it's pretty fast. And most of the time you want to eat your protein really quick, right after it's cooked, when it's like perfect. You want to get it, it's rest time, and then before it gets too cool, you want to be eating. So we want that stuff to be coming off right at the end. Yeah, the corn here is good point. I personally don't mind starchy corn, but I'm also a really big fan of hominy. But yeah, for grilling, starchy corn is not going to be that great. It'd be better for something like a soup, or maybe like a saute or like a succotash. The starch can actually add to that flavor in the sauce. But yeah, I generally like to eat local corn and local veggies when I can. I mean, obviously I buy things that like peppers. Those peppers are from Holland probably or something, but when I can, as much local stuff as possible. And for corn especially, it's the quality is just insanely different when you have things shipped to you, because those sugars turn into starches within the corn like the day they get picked. As soon as they get picked, they start starching up to protect the genetic material. So definitely fresh corn, and it's just so hard to find fresh corn unless you know where it's being grown. So like some of the corn you see in the grocery store is like could be a month old and kept under like really low storage, and it's just full of starch, which can be good if you're making something that you want starch for, but not so good for the grill where you're just going ham on corn. All right, sweet. I'm actually going to leave you guys for a second because I forgot my cheese, and I don't want to forget that. But when we get back, we will be opening the grill and doing our next round of veggies. I'll leave you with a nice view of the backyard. I'm back. Da 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 da. This is one of my favorite parts of grilling, is just like how this is my sort of canvas, and how it sort of changes as the experience goes on. The colors and just like the whole thing is just so nice. All right, so these onions are done, but I don't have a lot of them, so we're gonna take something else that's a little more bulky, maybe this broccoli, and that's gonna be our first sort of setup in the bowl. And so what I like to do is I'll hold the bowl at an angle like that, just sort of keep things, and I'll just sort of line it up a little bit up towards the top of the bowl as possible. And then we'll follow suit with the onions. We'll just sort of try and rest them on the broccoli, so they have some skyline, some nice views, so you can see them from the top. So now you got broccoli and oopsies. We're gonna put the fennel. I think that's steamed enough. You could keep it up here longer, but I think it's honestly steamed enough. So I'm just gonna take it off. I'm gonna put these beets up here to finish cooking. Beautiful. And we'll see some of these peppers. Yeah, these peppers are done too. So we're gonna go for the peppers also. I'll just try and alternate colors when you can. And this one of the things that's really good about this bowl technique is anything that maybe didn't cook completely on the grill is going to have some time to steam in this bowl as the rest of the veggies sort of give off their residual heat. So, you know, if you have something that maybe isn't super done, but you want to get it off the grill, you can just sort of put it in there towards the bottom. So as you see, we got peppers, broccoli, onion, fennel, all sort of set up so you can see them. Let's put that over here for now. And we'll start loading up some more stuff. I think this yellow squash is almost done. I'm gonna give it just one more flip. And I'll probably take it off once I'm done loading these other veggies. All right, so we're going mushrooms. That's right, we're gonna go gill side down. And we're gonna not cook one side of it. We're gonna see how that goes. I think it's gonna work really well. I just wanna put that little stem right in the middle of one of the grill grates. And that'll help give you some nice heat distribution, and we'll also set them up in a nice little grid. And again, this is going to be dependent on the size of your mushrooms, but I tried to pick ones that were going to be perfect for what I was doing. So, you know, if you have different grill size, grill grates or grill size, maybe pick some different size mushrooms, but you get the idea. Have fun with it. Experiment. That's how we learn new things about ourselves and the food we eat. I did a lot of mushrooms. Good, I love mushrooms. This is the best news ever. So I'm purposely letting those zucchinis sit for a bit longer instead of, you know, I could have flipped them before I started loading up, but I just had a feeling because that right side wasn't super hot before that they might need a little bit more time. So that's why I'm letting them hang there instead of putting them on the grill right away, or instead of flipping them right away. Awesome. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and flip those. Perfect. And I'm actually gonna move them over as I do that, just so I can load my new stuff over where they were. And I like a metal bowl just so I can do that. I can rest it right on the edge like that. It's not gonna melt or anything like that, but use whatever you've got. Just make sure you stay safe. Melted plastic is not tasty, and it definitely doesn't feel good on your skin. It is a bad, bad, bad feeling. Like hot glue. Ooh, shivers. All right, so we're gonna load up the tomatoes now. And tomatoes, I will always do skin side down first. And I might not even flip them depending on how things go. These are pretty big, so I probably will flip them. But skin side down first. Just because they're gonna kind of fall apart, you'll see. And we like that, we want that. But we don't want them to fall apart too soon. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to take this summer squash off and we're going to give it its own place in the bowl. So as you guys can see, the bowl's sort of coming together. It's starting to look really pretty. You got a lot of colors all over the place. And that's going to get us some more space. So we're going to cook up these bulb onions, these spring onions, not the green onions. The green onions are going to go on almost last after we start getting some proteins on here. But these bulb onions, the actual bulb itself needs some time to cook. So we're going to put those on here, and we're going to put the bulb all towards the center. And we're gonna have the greens on the edge of our grill, wherever your cold spot is on your grill. You wanna try and keep the greens over the cold spot if possible. That's gonna help the bulb cook and still have something that is edible for the greens. Perfect. We're all loaded up. We'll close it down and relax. So one of my favorite parts about grilling, it's a very bursty experience. You know, you cook and then you chill, and then you cook and then you chill, and then when you're done, you're just on full chill and you're eating, which is the best chill. So yeah, any questions you guys have, now is definitely the time, but otherwise we can just do some nice breathing meditation. If I had Jaleesa here, I'm sure she'd lead you all with some beautiful yoga, but just take a time to relax and enjoy how awesome this meal is going to be. If I start snoring, you guys have to wake me up.
Chris,
Nice.
do you ever do seafood? I mean, not fish, uh, shellfish.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oysters, I love doing. Oysters can be a bit tough because they don't always open when they're done. Just the way that they are set up, they can actually sometimes close a little tighter. You have to kind of tap on them. So it's kind of easy to overcook them. But quahogs or clams, hard shell clams, that is, or little necks, cherry stones, all the same animal, just different sizes. Those are great because as soon as they're cooked, they pop right open, and they're so good grilled. They get that salty brine inside, just like soaks up the smoky flavor. Those are really great. You can cook pretty much any shellfish like that. I mean, if you got razor clams or steamers, like those are all going to cook well on the grill. You just have to be careful with them because they don't really take a lot of time to cook. Softer shelled.
About how long would that take? Say a,
Yeah,
a
if
big clam, like
yeah, if I'm doing like a hard shell clam, like if it's a cherry stone, it's going to take either one or two of these sort of rotations that we're doing of the temperature. Um, but if I'm doing like a razor clam or a soft shell clam, I'm not even going to close the lid. I'm going to watch that until it's done because it'll cook really, really fast. You're basically just trying to get the internal temperature to boiling. Once that happens, the animal will expire and all the muscles will relax and it'll open up. So that's why they open like that, is because they're trying as hard as they can to keep themselves closed. Once you get the temperature to boiling, they expire and they release. And you can usually hear it. You can hear like the liquid come out. So that's a really good way to tell when they're done as well. It's just you hear that sizzling sound, and that's almost a guarantee that your clams have opened or your quahogs. For oysters, it's a lot harder to tell. You want to tap them a little bit, and they usually won't take that much longer than a quahog. So if you're like doing them side by side, if your quahogs are all done, your oysters might be done. But most of the time, the tip, you've got the oyster, the outer shell will peek open a little bit, even if it doesn't open all the way, and that's a good way to know that they're dead too. And
oh,
ready
what did you mean by tapping them?
just take like your tongs or like a rock or something. You just want to tap them. So again, oyster, this is the hinge. You want to tap them by the hinge, and that'll sometimes release the vacuum that they've made, and they'll pop right open. Sometimes when oysters expire, they don't. They exist on a vacuum. Not all shellfish do, and so if that vacuum doesn't break when they go, it'll stick, and you can fully cook them and like completely destroy them and almost burn them inside their own shell, and they still won't open. So you want to just sort of test to see if that vacuum has been broken, and sometimes a little tap will they'll just pop right open and they're ready to go. So just got to kind of test them. I think we're ready for protein. This is one of my favorite parts because it means that food is near. Ooh, steamy. All right, awesome. Those mushrooms are looking really good. I'm liking this new technique. I think the squash are done. So we're gonna put the green ones over by my red peppers. I don't know if you guys can see from that far away, but the tomatoes are boiling out the bottom. I can see liquid starting to escape. So that's a very good sign. That means those are getting some nice cook. Oh, it's hot. Nice. All right, beautiful.
Mhm.
Beets are almost done up top. I'm gonna leave the tomatoes for now. I think they're doing good things over there. They're getting some nice char. I'll leave my onions too. I'm gonna pop into proteins. We're gonna start with some burgers. Anybody who knows me knows I really love venison burgers. These are not venison burgers. That's totally okay though. They're from a nice farm in Connecticut. They were packed up by my in-laws. I'm very happy to have them. I love burgers so much, and they're still pretty local, so that's nice. We know what happened to these cows. You just want to give yourself a little bit of space. I'm actually going to just move that tomato out of the way. 3 here for now, and that'll be good for now. I'm going to cook again way more than I need, but that's just going to make my life easier later down the line. I'll flip these onions out. Yeah, there we go. Now I can actually smell the mushrooms. If you don't know what a shiitake smells like, I highly suggest finding some of these and cooking them, because when they are cooked, they have this like beautiful woodsy smell. It's almost like you're cooking wood. It's really cool. So that means that they're probably close to being done. So yeah, look at that. You see that like amazing char right there, but the top is still soft. I think we're good. I think I've landed on a new cooking technique for these. And I don't think they need much more than that. Let's give it a test though. Best way to test if something's done is with your face. Oh, it's hot. Oh, it's so hot. Oh yeah, that's done. Oh my God, it's so good. Okay. Whew, that is so hot. So the mushrooms are definitely done. This is my new favorite cooking technique for them. I don't know. I do like going cap down first for like a more squishy like button mushroom or baby bella or even a portobello. But for these, if you do that, the top tends to get a little bit crispy and rubbery. And this is the way. This is bringing out all the flavor. And I still have that nice juicy top. So, oh my God, that with the thyme too, especially mushrooms and thyme, anything woody tends to taste really, really good with thyme. So this is an epiphany for me. I'm very happy that I tried this out. Like I said earlier, experimentation is the only way to know new things about your food and yourself. So don't be afraid. Try new things. You will be surprised how many amazing things you find out. I gotta get another one of those. They're really good. Oh yeah. Oh hot. All right. Beautiful. We're going all in on these burgers. This is a really nice technique. You take a little piece of butcher paper and you make your burger and then you sort of fold it over the top. Oop. You can pack them all in one bag and they stay separate. It's really great. So I got burgers. I'm gonna throw some dogs on there too. And the last thing I'm gonna cook is gonna be that sword thing. Over here trying to open up my hot dog without a knife. There we go. So these are just like, normal organic hot dogs. You can get anything you like, obviously. I really like these because they have a nice snap. I love the outer casing on hot dogs, so definitely go for that if you like it, but get what you like. I have noticed that like turkey dogs don't tend to grill very well. They're definitely better to like pan fry or cook, a boil if you want to do that. They definitely don't. Something about the skin and the wrapping, it just doesn't really work. So these are all looking pretty good. They're a little bit frozen on the inside, which is totally fine. We're gonna let them do their thing. I think. Yeah, beautiful. These onions have got a nice little char on the outside. So I'm gonna actually just move them up to the top rack. Because I don't want the greens to get any more char, but I do want that bulb to just have a little bit more heat. Just so it can get fully cooked. I'm gonna give us some nice space for our dogs here. tomatoes are doing. I think I'm just gonna flip these. Perfect. And they're gonna get a little messy, the tomatoes. Don't worry about it. We're really just trying to get that nice char flavor. Try not to lose the skins as you flip them. Awesome. All right, we are nearing completion here, guys. We're gonna have dinner soon. I don't have to leave you. What will we do then? Bye, Ellie. Oh, she's gone already. Nice. My hands just smell like grill. Oh, and classically in my technique, I have gone a little bit over time. It is 6:20, but that's okay. We're almost done. I will be wrapping up here shortly, and we can all go eat, which will be super nice. Hopefully, you guys have some dinner plans in the works.
Yeah, hopefully after this show, we're all just salivating.
I always just like cook too much, and I honestly think that that's okay. But every time I'm doing this, I'm always just like, this will be fine. I'll be done in no time. But it is advertised as an hour program, but oft becomes an hour and a half, and so it goes, as they say.
Chris, tell me something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get out to fish more, and I would like to grill a whole fish.
Yeah.
So usually I just catch bluefish. Sometimes I'm lucky and get a striped bass, but I don't know how to grill a whole fish. How do you do that?
So the first thing you want to do is you're gonna want to gut it. You want to make sure you get all the organs out. Usually, like halfway down the fish, there's a little like hole that's there,
Yeah.
And you cut up from that and you gut it, and then you want to scale it, and you do that by taking like a butter knife and going against the scales, and most of them will come off. And then what you want to do is you want to start at the tail, and at a bias, you want to cut slits, maybe about 4 or 5, depending on the side of the fish, through the flesh to the backbone.
On
The heat,
both sides.
both sides. Yep, that'll help the heat penetrate.
Okay.
And there's 2 ways you can do it. You can go high temp grill like I'm doing, and do high temp grill on one side. Wait until it is nice and charred. You want to use 2 spatulas if you can, and flip it to the other side and get char on both sides. And then you can turn the temperature down on the grill and just sort of let it cook, because you want to make sure that it gets cooked on the inside. It's not going to take a lot of time, but if you go high temp the whole time, you're gonna burn it.
Yeah.
One way. Or you can do high temp, and then you can transfer to a sheet pan and you can finish it off in the oven. That's usually what we'll do in restaurants when we're doing whole fish, just because it takes too long and it takes too much space on the grill. So you want to get that nice grill flavor, and then you want to finish it in a nice temperature controlled environment. You can turn your grill into an oven, and that's generally what I would do if I was cooking for myself. But if you're cooking more than one of them, it's usually better to sort of get that grill marks on it and then transfer it to an oven to finish cooking. That way you can get the perfect.
Probably be one, but that sounds good. So get it high temp, charred on both sides.
And sometimes if the fish is small enough, it can just be
one of those little, I'm not sure what they're called, but the little grill things that you put on and you can flip it over easily.
Yeah, if you have a grill basket, that is
basket.
Ideal. That's a really good idea. I don't have one, but yeah, that would be a fabulous technique.
Well, I got one because I thought I'd be cooking all this fish on my grill. Yet to do it, but now I'm going to do it.
Yeah, they work really good, and the cuts down the flesh is really good for just getting extra smoke and flavor in there. And if you're using like any sort of rub or sauce afterwards, it's really nice. It's easier to pull apart too. You kind of have already cut the protein up. All right, guys, let's take a peek. I think most of these veggies are about to come off. Oh yeah, my hot dogs. So again, I love everything charred. So these hot dogs are pretty charred. Starting to sort of explode, which is cool. I love that. These hamburgers. I'm just gonna do a little. These tomatoes are looking so nice. I'm just gonna pile them up in the back. We have some space here. So the first burgers I put on, we're gonna do half turn. After that, you just sort of half turn it, and that's how you get those nice hash grill marks. The second ones I put on are actually looking pretty good too. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that as well. You'll see that when we flip it, what that looks like as far as the grill mark is concerned. And it's not gonna need a lot of time on this side. You're really just wanting to get the grill marks on the side. For me, burgers, generally, you want good grill marks on the first side. You want to cook it till it's almost done. You want to flip it, put your cheese on, and then the other side is really just sort of sealing it, cooking the other side, and then all that heat from the first side is going to work its way down into the meat and really finish it off. So we're going to put the green onions on here now, just all in the back in a pile like that. We don't want tons of grill contact for these, just because we really don't want them to burn, but we do want to have them nice and flat. Burger out the way. And then I'm gonna go get my my swordfish. Pop that on there. So I don't have tons of swordfish, just a couple pieces that were on sale that my in-laws bought. So we're gonna go ahead and move this burger over here. Move this burger over here. Let's put it right there, and that'll be our grill spot for the swordfish. So I'm not seasoning this at all. It's just a piece of swordfish, nice, well cut, got skin on. I'm not seasoning it at all. I feel like fish generally doesn't really need much. You can put black pepper on there if you want. You can put some herbs on there if you want. You can put pretty much anything on there you want. Like I said earlier, I'm eating a little bit less salt now than usual, so I'm not putting any salt on there. Fish tends to be pretty salty just because, as long as it's saltwater fish. If that was like a trout or something from freshwater, I might put some salt on it. But for me, it doesn't need it. All right, cool. So I think our burgers are good to go. Let's see what that grill mark looks like. Can you guys see that? I'll flip them all, then I'll bring the camera a little closer. See that little hash mark, grill mark? That's because of that turn that we did. And you can turn that as much as you want. You can do 90 degree. You can do just a really small turn if you want more like a diamond hash. I'm just gonna put some cheese on all these. I love cheese on my burgers. For a long time I didn't, but then I changed my mind and I never really gone back. Beautiful. And we are not going to probably close the grill here just because everything wants to be washed. So we'll start unloading some of these top veggies while our burgers sort of finish off there. We got the beets to go in here. I'm just going to put those right in the center. Nice little centerpiece. They're kind of strange. So, if we have dinner guests, they'll be like, "What's that?" And you'll be like, "Those are beets." And they'll be like, "You're crazy." Then they'll eat them and they'll be like, "I'm crazy. Why haven't I done this?" So we got beets in the center. Beautiful. These little onions over here next to the mushrooms. Make a little space for these tomatoes, which are looking very, very good. Oh my gosh. I love grilled tomatoes. They're such a mess in the best way possible. You can almost just make a sauce out of these right now. You don't have to do anything, These are almost done. You can the color will change on your green onions, and that's how you know they're almost done. Very similar to asparagus. You put it on there and it kind of just gets cooked really, really fast. Give these hot dogs a little stir. I'm actually pretty much done. Awesome. They're looking so good. The swordfish is starting to have a little bit of like white goop coming out the sides. That's some of the proteins, some of the fat. When you see that, that's usually a good sign. That means we're getting pretty close. I don't have a platter for these burgers. All right, so usually once the cheese is melted, your burger is done. You want to like really do most of the cooking on the first side. Oh my God, so beautiful. I love hamburgers. I love grilling. This is great. Get those a little separated there. Oh my God. I need to use a little more time. Cool. So those green onions are done now. And that's sort of what the bowl looks like when it's done, the presentation bowl.
Yes, people.
And I'm going to be sort of around the beets. Perfect. So we got sort of our like veggies, all beautiful and done. Love it. You got a little bit of access to everything. And awesome. I'll throw the hot dogs on there too, just because, and we're pretty much done here. This swordfish isn't going to take much longer. I'm going to do another turn on that. Let's get those nice grill marks. Start taking these burgers off. Right there, and look at all that cheese. That's just going to hang there and make all sorts of flavors for me for next time I'm grilling. All right, so we're going to let this, I'm just going to show you the other side of the swordfish, and then I think we're going to call it quits, guys, and I'll let you guys go and feed your faces. So you can see up the side of this, it's starting to sort of work its way up. And that's a good way to tell, you know, how far it is along in the cooking process. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, there we go. So you got some beautiful grill marks on that swordfish, just what you're looking for. And unlike the burgers, I want the grill marks first, and then I want to finish cooking on the other side. With burgers, I want to cook then, you know, while I'm getting the grill marks, and then flip it, put my cheese on, and it's basically done. With the fish, I want to get my grill marks, flip it, and then finish cooking on the second side. That way, you've got sort of a cooked side to sort of trap in all that moisture, and you don't lose a lot of it. It cooks a little bit faster too. With the burger, for the cheese specifically, that's why I like to do it that way. But guys, that's it. That's everything for the first grill program. Thanks for hanging out. I am gonna finish up these swordfish and toast some buns, and then it's dinner time, baby. So thanks so much for hanging out, and make sure to come by in August. I believe we decided on the 12th, August 12th, before the fair. That's the week before the fair, yeah, we'll be doing it again, hopefully with corn and lots of good times.
Thanks, Chris. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Have
you.
a seat, everybody.
It's been
Thank you.
I am so very hungry right now. So
So am I.
Me too.
But unlike you, we don't have food ready.
I know. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Everybody, please go eat delicious foods.
We will. Thank you, Chris.
Healthy, nourished, and healthy for next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.